the UK. Now, I'll tell you that my foray into the family life space, maybe many of you didn't know, it was almost accidental, right? I was that child who grew up with 4 sisters. And so I always saw the way African family was structured. I always saw my sisters in relationship, out of relationship. I knew when they were heartbroken. I knew what was going on in their life. So I literally grew up among girls. And I've always asked the question, why is it that, because the family, African family I saw was a family where daddy had the final say, mothers had no say, and everybody must defer to daddy. Nothing wrong with that. The only problem is that who does daddy defer to when daddy does what is wrong? And so I was like that, asking a lot of questions. My dad, being an Anglican priest, I saw him counsel a lot of families that were troubled. And I would sit with him sometime, and I'll be making input, and I'll get a knock for saying that you don't talk when adults are talking. So I had to be asking questions within myself till I got into university. And when I got in, I was admitted to study accounting. By the second year in accounting, I knew I didn't want to study that course. I didn't want to be an accountant. And so I spent most time studying books on psychology because there was no course on family science. Now, when I left youth service, came back to Ajegunle, where I used to live, I was taking a walk one night and I saw 13, 14-year-old girls prostituting, right? And I was like, what's going on here? And I was blaming the government, calling the government out, got to my room, was very upset. Why is government like this? Why is government like that? What are these young girls doing? Why are they being messed up? Blah, 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 blah. And that night, I knelt down to pray before I slept. So I knelt down to pray. I had a voice say to me, go back there and make a difference. And I said, no, I can't make a difference. I didn't have money to rehabilitate prostitutes. And I felt the voice again. God said to me, remember that when you were a bad boy, you could toast any girl same day, have sex with her same day. So go back there and toast them out of prostitution. Following day, I went there, Niger Hotel, somewhere in Bale Street in Ajegunle. If you're from Ajegunle, you will know that hotel. I don't know if it's still there. And I went there the following day disguised as a customer, and I started toasting these girls out of prostitution. I became highly successful that the owners of brothels gathered and they said, nobody must have me in the brothels. Right? But there was something I discovered. The moment I left that, they chased me away from that place, went to the capital of prostitution in Ajegunle called Good Evening Street. When I got to Good Evening Street, I saw zones. So if you wanted to sleep with a girl from Niger Delta, there was a place you went. If you wanted a northerner, there was a place you went. Easterner, you went. Yoruba, they all had their zones and they never mixed. And so I set up a meeting inside the brothel. Every day I would go there, talk to those girls, take my food to them, and I worked with over 300 commercial sex workers. I never met one who was not sexually abused and who was not from a dysfunctional family. In fact, I now learned that it wasn't because of poverty that many of them were actually doing prostitution, but for you to spread your laps, because those girls needed to sleep with 11 men every day to break even. And I realized that for you to spread your laps for 11 men, something that was deeper than money must have happened to you. And I figured out that it must have been identity loss. And so I discovered that the root of prostitution was an identity loss. Every other thing people talk about were just symptoms. Oh, they needed money. And so I started taking these girls out of prostitution. That was how I landed my first job. And so when I saw that all the girls that I worked with were sexually molested, because part of the effect of sexual molestation is what is called learned helplessness. And so I began to find resources to create sexuality education, because I knew that predators were family members. And the way to kick out predators was not, by trying to torchlight the predators, because the strength of the predator is the ignorance of the child. I knew that if we can empower the children, then we can stop predators. So I went into the studio. I used to be a musician, wrote songs on sexuality education that can empower the kids against predators, created content, and produced the first complete sexuality education kit in Nigeria way back. And it went viral. A lot of parents used it. In fact, I meet young people are now married, saying to me that that was what preserved them from the activities of predators. Schools started using it, and it started opening up. People who were predators were being opening up. They were being arrested. They were being picked. They were being exposed and things like that. But then as I worked on that, I discovered that marriages had problems. And so I wanted to, study family science. There was no university that offered it in Nigeria, and I couldn't travel abroad because my father was late. And so I decided to research into that problem as well. And then for 11 years thereabout, I was studying marriages in Africa that had gone past 40-year mark. I studied about 25 marriages that had done between 40 to 65 years in marriage to try to understand why their marriages work, why their marriages failed. And from there, we built a framework that has now become the celebrated Family System Engineering Certification Program, which is the only certification program that exists in West Africa. I don't know whether it's changed right now, but it used to be, but it's the most effective with psychometry and stuff. Now, the moment I solved that problem, I saw parenting problem, and then started consulting for governments and all. Now, based on my work in Africa, was why America issued me a special talent visa to come and replicate the work in America. And within 1 year, I did that, got my green card. Now, I am saying all of these things for you to know that even while I'm here, I am seeing a whole lot of similarities with the problems happening in the family lives in Africa, also happening to Africans and Black Americans, even out there in the diaspora. And so it's been 24 years of building successful families. So everything I'm going to be sharing with you today are not theories. There are people on this platform who have literally transformed their family by following the template. There are some of the people I've coached in the last 5-10 years on this call, whose totality of their family has been totally transformed, who have built this system I am going to be sharing with you today. Some of them, they're on the call, they can literally say to you, we are here, right? And so follow me carefully. We're now 193. I know we can still keep inviting people. The first thing I want to do here, and it's a question. If I pray for you, right? If I pray for you right now, okay, good, Ofonime is here. That's one of my students, right? And I'm so proud of what Ofonime has done with the family. If I pray for you today to experience the family you came out from all over again in your own family life, how many of you will say amen? If I say to you, God, I pray for everyone on this call, the family they came out from, I want them to repeat that same family in their present life without anything changing. How many of you will say amen to that prayer? If you will say amen, can you type I? If you will not say amen, maybe that will sound like a curse, type no. Somebody say God forbid. Let me see. No. Okay, hi, 2 eyes. Let me see, keep it coming. I reject it in Jesus' name. No. No, God forbid. Not really. Okay, a few eyes. That's fantastic. Let's keep it coming. Looks like the no's are winning. Right. A lot of us don't want to repeat the family we came out from. Breaking news. Many of you are already repeating that family. As a matter of fact, if your children are already accusing you of what you used to accuse your parents of, it's the clearest indicator that you could have been repeating the mistakes or the families you came out from. Because the people in front of you are your models. And unknown to you, unconsciously, there are softwares that they have planted in you. Okay, it's okay. I can say all of you, no. So I join you to reject it in the mighty name of Jesus. Right. You guys are going to start something new. Right. And so follow me carefully. Why don't you want to replicate that family? Because it reminds many of us of pain. It reminds you of trauma. It reminds you of the fact that you had no voice. It reminds you of the fact that they punished you. Only God knew what you did to your parents, that when it was time to eat rice, they served daddy's rice with the chicken laps and the big part of the chicken. Mommy also took her own. Then they looked at you as a child and they gave you the chicken leg, right? How many of you took chicken leg, you remember? And not the thighs, the chicken leg. You wonder what is in the chicken leg that is so sweet, and they now gave you a condition. And the condition was that if you never finished your food, you must not take that meat. You knew the pain that you had, and that conditioning is still why some of you still reward yourself with your meat for finishing your food, even till now that you are providing the food for yourself. Am I still here? Right. Leg and neck. Good. Some of you even got head, the head of chicken, right? Chicken head and leg. Some of them neck. And you are wondering, what did I do wrong? So many of our childhood is built on trauma. Some of you were sexually molested by aunties and uncles that you respected, and you felt your parents did not protect you enough. Some of you had fathers who ran away, right? And they dumped you with your mother. And you knew what your mother went through to raise you. And you don't want to repeat that. Some of you, you didn't even know your father because your mother got pregnant and the person who was supposed to be responsible for that pregnancy ran away. And so you knew the pain you went through. And the same pain, you've gone through it in the hands of men because all your life, you are looking for that father figure. And so everyone you call lover, they were father figures you were looking for. And up till now, some of you are still looking for that father figure. Are we still here? So many of you, the pain of the childhood is what you don't want. The bad news now sells where good news is not allowed. And so if you check all over Africa, all over Nigeria, in the last 2 weeks, you can almost bet that it's been from one bad story to another about family life. That it made family life look like a joke. And a lot of young people are saying to us, I mean, we started the singles meeting on Friday, and some of them are saying that they don't even want to get married based on the trauma that they are witnessing on social media. All kinds of fights, married men, having side chicks, this person doing that, that person doing that, all kinds of madness out there, right? People fighting themselves over divorce issues, fighting over child custody, and you know some of these stories, you consume them. Unknown to you, the Bible says whatever I speak to you are spirits and they are life. Every time you consume something that does not resonate with your reality, what you have consumed is the spirit of that conversation. And if care is not taken, it can begin to manifest in your life. Now, so if you check, what is the rate of bad news about family life compared to good news? Now, if I want to do a simple ratio analysis on this call, and I ask you, I want you to just think briefly. And can you attempt to write the number of bad news about family life that you have had in the last 1 month versus the number of good news about family life that you have had? So you can say bad news, BN, maybe 9, GN, maybe 1. Can you put it on the chat box? Let me see. Let's see the ratio, right? I mean, that's your own personal experience. Let's just check something out, right? What's the ratio of bad news to good news within the last 1 month that you've had all over social media, right? Or in your environment, right? Let me see. Bad news like 10, good news 0. Thank you, Ogochukwu. Thank you, Ogochukwu, for being so honest, right? If somebody says 100 to 1, okay, let me see other people. What's the ratio of bad news to good news about family life? Only 2 people have responded so far, right? Let's see. Let's keep it coming. Good news 0, bad news 8. You can see what we're dealing with. 10 to 1. Bad news far more greater than good news. Good news 8, bad news 8. So you can see the problems we're dealing with. Bad news is 95%. And so when your children, my children, when they see those bad news, what do you think they think about marriage? Have we listened to Generation Z and Generation Alpha? They're already traumatized. They see marriage as pretense. They see family life as something that can never work based on their so-called stars and how they are fighting themselves dirty on social media. So it means that there is crisis all over the world. Now, if you check, I was working in the UK in the month of April, and this was the Office of National Statistics in the United Kingdom. The UK divorce rate reveals that approximately 42% of marriages end in divorce in the UK as at 2024. Now, unreasonable behavior is the most cited reason for divorce as it covers a number of aspects. Now, unreasonable behavior, I'll tell you what it means. In fact, the data says 1 in 3 marriages to end in divorce by the 20th year in the UK. 62% of divorce petitions filed by women in the UK. Marriages involving Black people had higher rates of divorce, with the rate of divorce for Black co-ethnic couples and for Black and white couples being 20%. South Asian and other exhibit lower divorce rate. Blacks have the highest lone parent family. Over half were lone parents in 2021, 51%, which means 51% of Blacks family were lone parent family, an increase from 2011. So it would then mean that the Black family, the African family, is in danger. especially now that a lot of families are moving abroad. I'll tell you some stories I'm dealing with at the moment, right? But what it portends, you want to ask yourself, what is unreasonable behavior? Unreasonable behavior is what happens when an African and his wife move from Africa to the diaspora and they expect African behavior in the diaspora. What does African behavior mean? The man never cooks in Africa. Now he's moved to United States of America or UK or Europe, that the productivity is measured per hour, where you need both combined income to run a successful family. But yet, even though that his wife runs shifts, his wife earns higher than him, he's still insisting that she must cook, she must clean the house, she must take care of the children. That is what is mainly called unreasonable behavior. And that's why people are breaking themselves free from marriages. And it looks like divorce is on the increase out in the diaspora. Now, as of 2024, in the United States, the divorce rate for African Americans in the US is 30.8%, according to divorce.com, which is the highest among all races. In 2021, Bowling Green University reported that Black males and females have the highest first divorce rate at 22.6% and then 24.5% respectively. Divorce rate for Black women are higher than those for Black men at almost every age, and also higher than those for white women. Black women are also less likely to marry than white women, and about half as likely to be married at any given point. I mean, these are latest data that should get us thinking. So instead of coming to the diaspora or leaving Africa and collaborating to create something interesting and incredible, it pitches us against each other because we have not been brought up to collaborate and resolve our issue. So one person is sabotaging the family, maybe a cheating guy, or maybe a lady who is listening to other people and say, you know what, break away from your guy. This economy favors women. And before you know it, a home is fractured. Children are in crisis. I'm dealing with lots of children, and I'll share with you some of those cases. Now, the Bible in Proverbs 3:24, this is a scripture I love. It says, any enterprise is built by wise planning. That is, to build a family life, you need to plan it wisely. It's not just any kind of planning. It will then presuppose that there's going to be a framework or a template that helps you plan. In fact, part of the planning is, do I know the person I want to go on this journey with? Should I marry this guy just because he's a prayer warrior, or because we're in the same church, or because we're going to the same mosque? Should I marry him? Are we friends enough for me to say, you know what, I'm willing to take care of whatever challenges he or she has for the rest of our lives? Any enterprise is built by wise planning. It becomes strong through common sense. And common sense in marriage is not common. But to profit wonderfully, you need to keep abreast of the fact. Now, if I unpack this, I can engage you guys for the next 7 hours, because there is an entire framework I can share that you guys will be working with me for the next 7 hours. Right. But let me save your time. Now, if you look at the state of African family, both within Africa and outside Africa, there are 4 battle lines. The 4 battle lines, I've shared them before. The first battle line is the battle line of identity. For those of you listening to me on Honest Bunch podcast, you would have had part of this. The first challenge of the African family as we have it today is an identity problem. Who do we say we are, and what does that mean? If you say your family is Fowowe family, what does that mean? If I ask your children, what does it mean really? Do they know their identity, right? Or their identity is now to the wind. They don't even know who they are anymore. And when someone forgets who he is or does not know who he is, they will begin to misbehave. Now, the ultra agenda, the lack of intentionally articulated identity. I don't know how many of you in your family today, or your father, right? In your family, there is a documented history of your family that was handed over to you before you got married. That your maybe father or grandfather documented a book that contains your family history, that contains your family tree, right? If you have that kind of document in your family, can you type I? If nothing like that was ever shared with you, can you type no? I mean documented. I'm not saying hearsay, they just told you one story. It was documented. Do you have it? If you don't have it, type no. If you have it, type yes. Okay, no. Right. And so identity is lost in many families. And I'll tell you the implication of that. The implication of that is, God forbid, if you don't change this, I can almost bet and stake my life. Well, I wouldn't stake my life, that by the fourth generation, which means when your children marry, and their own children marry, and their own children's children marry, and the fourth generation, nobody will remember you. They will not remember that you existed, all of you on this call. If you don't begin to document, you know why? Because if I ask you, who is the fourth man in your lineage before you came, which means your great-great-grandfather, what's his name? Most of you don't know him. So if you can not remember the fourth man before your generation, or the fifth man before your generation, there's a likelihood that nobody will remember you by the fourth generation. Now, number two is history. We do not have our history anymore. History has been taken out of our curriculum in almost all the African countries. So no heritage, our history, we don't even know the stories we are telling ourselves and the systems we have built. And so what is happening is that we are now hearing ESA. Is it not a shame in Nigeria, for example, that when we were growing up, the only thing we knew about Funmilayo Ransom Kuti was that she was the first woman that rode a car. That was, in fact, we wrote it in exam. The first woman that drove a car in Nigeria is Dash, Funmilayo Ransom. That was all history told us until Abayo was now done, and then we knew that she actually sacked a king. Why did they edit that story? Was it that it was shameful that a woman sacked a king who was a wicked king, and that was too shameful for them to accept? Was why they edited it out of the history? That woman did a whole lot more. She should be our national hero. She should be on our currency, on our map or whatever, but then they edited that part out. And so history is lost. Once your history is lost, your identity is missing. Number three is village. Many of us, we even quote it, it takes a village to raise the child, but where's the support system? Who are the custodian of what system and what system's power it? So if you say your village, now, how many of you right now, if I said to you, take your child back to your village, the village you came from. If I say there's a law now that you must take your child back to your village and your child must grow in your village, do you think your child will turn out right in your village today, as your village stands today, if you send your child back to your village? Right? I'm sure all of us will say, no, I can't send my child back to your village. Why? Because your village most likely has not even developed, maybe it has even retrogressed. The roads have not been tied, nothing has really developed. In fact, the people look more primitive than they used to be. So you are not willing to send your child because you know the education is not good enough. You know, in fact, so all of you are even saying, no way, no way, no way. So village is lost. Once your child does not have a sense of village, something goes missing at the realm of the identity. Number four is mission. Why are we here? What does success mean to your family? Who do you represent? Every family represents something. Every family has a mission, right? The Indian family, somebody said evil people. Every family has got a mission. If your family does not have a mission, then all kinds of things will go wrong. Your child will take marijuana if they give him because it's not aware that it's the one that's been sent to save them. Now, what that simply means is that there are key threats and trends that is threatening the existence of the African family as we have it today. Remember, we're on the stage of the African Family Union. As it stands today, within the last 1 year, some of the major cases that is happening to African family, right? And let me say this carefully, it's not all bad news. We still have a lot of families who are doing very well. In fact, we started mentoring a group of families in the last 1 year, helping them build systems. And they had a session yesterday, the 7th session for this year, and it was very fantastic because in the next one year, they are developing their own family educational system because every family needs to have an educational system. That's what they're developing this month. Now, so we've had messy divorce and separation. People get married. Why? How is it our business for them to be reporting themselves to us on social media? Right? And I think social media has been mismanaged in Africa. The question I ask is, before social media, how would they have fight some of these fights? Would they have, because before social media, all we had were newspapers and television. So will they go on NTA and say, I want to abuse my ex-wife, Onome? Onome is a useless woman, no? I will say that on LTV. She wants to respond to me. She will now go on AIT. Because to buy airtime is very expensive. That's never going to happen. Or, so the other option will be, let me go on newspaper. I will post article on Sketch, I don't like Onome, she's a useless woman. Then Onome will buy a space in the Guardian newspaper and abuse me back. Of course, you know that's never going to happen. So how come there is no adult in the families that can call, see, all this mess that you are seeing and separation and all this divorce thing that people are fighting on social media, it's a deeper, it's saying something to us that we are not seeing. What it's saying to us is that there are no longer elders in those two families. Because if there are elders, or it's also saying that the children have outgrown the family system, and that's why nobody can call them to order. If there is nobody that can call Saidi and Saidi to say, I don't ever want you to see you on social media anymore, then it means that family is broken. It's one of the symptoms of a fractured family, regardless of how much money they have. Number two, loss of wealth to divorce. I have 9 guys right now in this USA who have lost their wealth. They brought their wives from Africa to join them in the US. The wife filed for divorce and their homes, they are lost. In fact, 3 of them are squatting as we speak. One of them had a nervous breakdown. I had to be managing him. And those guys were saying to me, the worst thing I did was to bring my wife to America. Now, I'm not saying they are totally sane themselves because there's no smoke without fire, right? However, why would we do that to ourselves? How can you look at someone that you once slept with, you once had good relationship with, you went to the altar with, you had children for, and during divorce, they willed everything to you, and you were okay, you slept comfortably, for the guy to lose everything to you, and then for his life to be miserable, right? Or it can be the other way around, wherein a woman helps her husband here, and the next thing he starts doing other women, makes her life miserable, domestic violence, and then she's lost everything. And some men don't even pay child support, right? And so loss of wealth to divorce. Generational clash leading to rebellion and distress. There's a new generation rising right now. They don't want to send the elders. So they say no grief for anybody. And what that means is because they have seen the elders commel and destroy the nations in Africa. Looted African nations dry. The elders will be telling us they enjoy free chicken, they enjoy free education. These children can't even afford public education anymore. They have to go to private schools, right? And the elders want them to be happy, and so they look like they are very rebellious against. That's a bigger issue. And that symptoms is sending to us is that parenting is failing. Next, blended families and trial marriage. Now we're having blended family. That's creating a lot of crisis. There's a way around that. But then trial marriages. People no longer trust marriages anymore. So what they're saying is right now, let us test ourselves. Let us give back to all our children. We will now decide. So it's after 6 children that people are giving ring and kneeling down and saying, will you marry me? And the girl is acting surprised. After 6 children. Well, that's our reality right now. Trauma-ridden singles. A lot of the singles are traumatized. They don't want to think marriage because they've been in and out of relationship. Many of them are actually side chicks to some money bags. In fact, the challenge of the younger generation boys or guys is that they can no longer afford the younger generation girls because the younger generation girls have been messed up by the older generation men. So when a girl is 21 and there's a baba in Abuja who gives the girl 2 million for having sex with her, how will that girl put up with a guy who is earning 200,000 and say, come and marry me, we'll be managing this 200,000? So the younger men are saying that they no longer have good women who can marry because their mouths are too wide. These are the feedbacks we're getting. The girls, on the other hand, are also complaining that the guys are being gigolo to some big madams somewhere in Africa. They are servicing women, right, and driving their car, and so they don't see the need to work. So there's a high level of irresponsibilities going on across board. Then custody warfare. You can see custody. If divorce has failed, if marriage has failed, co-parenting should not fail. But then custody can become very messy. There's one going on right now, and you are wondering, you are reading what they are talking about, and you are wondering, are these people okay? Are you okay? The kind of money they are calling, you are wondering, what is going on? What jobs? You guys should get a life. Or if they work elsewhere in another country, they will withdraw the children from both of them because they are showing a high level of irresponsibility. However, everybody's taking side. Oh, I belong to this side. I belong to that side. Now, are they aware that the child can read and write? When the child goes online, are they aware what the trauma the child will be going through? When the child goes to school and his mates are showing him an iPad and they're saying, see, your father and your mother, they are fighting themselves and they're laughing at the child. Do they understand the trauma? And that's what happens when immature or selfish people get into a love relationship. When they eventually leave themselves, that immaturity will still show up. Now you talk about drug use, soft porn content, and gender dysphoria. Soft porn is what a lot of young people are consuming right now. In fact, not consuming, that's what they are creating. Check all the content on TikTok, on Facebook live videos and reels. What you will find there is that neighbor, you touch the neighbor, he touches you, you enter bedroom, then they knock. Knacks is the #1 selling product in Nigeria right now. When I woke up yesterday, some guy was trending Valhalla. Never knew him before, never had the name before. Then I had to ask my media, my publicist, what's going on? And she explained what was going on to me. So you see, drug use. Drug use is saying that these young people are running away from something. It's saying that they are not at peace. There is no ease in them. And so it's a stopgap. Porn is a stopgap. It means they are not happy. So they are using porn, drug, and content generation to mask the pain that they are not willing to confront. And lately in America and the UK, we are having feedback from African parents of their children dealing with gender dysphoria. A lot of families, Christian families, Muslim families are dealing with that. They can't come publicly to talk about it, but their children are saying, you know what, I want to change my gender. It's a major issue. Drug use is high among our young people in Canada, right? And many of them are doing cannabis because parents send them here without any form of support. Now, baby mama and baby papa, I don't need to talk about that. You know, that's almost like has been institutionalized now, right? It's now in thing. In fact, I hear that that baby mama is now a profession. But depending on who you have a baby mama for, right? If the guy is rich and loaded, you don't need to work again. You just be making demands, right? That's our reality. And so what kind of children will emerge from those kind of families? Trophy children, of course, where both sides are trying to impress the child. So a child is 1 year old, you bought a car for the child. You know, maybe by 10-year-old, you buy a plane for the child. You know, maybe by the time the child is 12, you will buy an estate for the child. I mean, it's just all kinds of money misroad kind of behavior. And so you see that messy divorce, separation, and all of these things, these are the present position assessment across various African families, across various African nations, and across Africans in the diaspora, and even Black Americans. Now, it's not all bad news because a few people are getting it right. But then, let me quickly take us through the parallel of history and back to the beginning. Because it would look like Africa has always been this disorganized, this messed up, you know, in nature. No. Africa existed as kingdoms. For many of you didn't know. There were nothing like, we didn't have things like nation. Nigeria, for example, was a creation of the British. It wasn't nation. We existed as kingdom. So you had the Oyo Empire, you had the Idoma Kingdom, you had the King Jaja of Fowowe, you had the Benin Kingdom, you had you know, the Ashantis. That was how Africa was. And each kingdom had clear culture and mode of family life until Trans-Sahara trade started. Now, that doesn't mean that it was the slave trade that destroyed Africa, no, because slave trade already existed pre-colonial days. They only made it international. Now, but there are some things you need to know. Africa had pre-colonial values. And some of those values, #1, about 10 of them, one is collectivism and community, which means Africa naturally emphasized community over individual. So we were never individualistic. We were people who, promoted community. #2, Africa had respect for elders. It was one of the core values of pre-colonial Africa. Elders were regarded as a repository of wisdom and experience. But of course, elders are losing their space right now because elders are now knocking younger girls. So elders have lost their eldership. #3, oral tradition. Much of African history, knowledge, and values were transmitted orally through storytelling, proverbs, and oral tradition. Many of you had family avatar growing up. You remember your parents told you the story. The avatar was tortoise. Tortoise, in Yoruba, they call him Ijapa. Ijapa had a wife called Yonibo. And so there were so many stories built around tortoise to teach you about contentment, They had songs laced with them, to teach us about resilience, to teach us about honesty. That was how Africans was framed many years ago. 4, spirituality and ancestral worship. Africa had spirituality before Christianity and before Islam. So it's not true that we didn't know God until Christianity and Islam came. Number 5, harmony with nature. Many African cultures have deep respect for the natural world. Number 6, hospitality, which I think we have now used it to our own detriment. Africa is the only continent where people can walk in and we will respect them once the color of their skin is different from ours. We bow down to them, we make them comfortable, and then they hurt us badly, right? And so Africans have been betrayed over the years by the people we accommodated. So we offer us, it's as bad as there are parts of Africa where in giving hospitality to guests, they even gave their wives for the guest to enjoy himself. How do you have a guest that you have given a room to and you are giving your wife or your child to for the guests to enjoy themselves? Number 7, justice and conflict resolution. We were not a people who went on social media to fight ourselves. We had our own justice system, which is based on consensus and mediation. So when they started talking about alternative dispute resolution and it became a certification court, Africa, that was what Africa was built on. Number 8, work ethics. We had hard work, discipline, and self-reliance. So growing up in Africa, there were songs that we were told, but these were songs that told us to go to school, songs that told us about hard work. So our work ethics was high because our parents were not lazy. Number 9, gender roles and respect. While gender roles vary among many African countries, respect for both men and women was important. Women held significant roles in agriculture, trade, and governance. Number 10, rite of passage. Many African cultures had rites of passage that marked important transition in their life. So this was how your families was framed many years ago. However, something happened. As our people began to go out of Africa on exodus, or what you call colonization, many people did not know that there were 2 levels of colonization on exodus. There was the slave trade, those who were sold abroad, but there were those who were captured within. So the people were not sold abroad, who didn't work in the plantation in America, they assumed that they were okay, but they were not okay. They were actually also captured within Africa, either by the British colonialists or by the ones they handed power over to. It's like looking at Nigerians and looking at Ghanaians and looking at Zambians and every African nation right now, and you think they are free. We are still not free. We are still being captured. And so there were things that happen because the moment your culture is taken or you are sold, because many families are not aware that they've been sold, there are basic things that happen and you will check to see if the symptoms are still existing in your family. The first thing was name change. So your name in the Jewish culture, your name resonates with your identity and your destiny. That's why when you hear Abraham, is a combination of 2 keywords, Hab and Raham. Hab is source. Raham is, Hab is father. Raham is nation. So father of nation. When you hear Absalom, Hab, father, Shalom, peace. Father of peace, right? When you hear Abigail, father, Abigail, father of happiness. And that was how their names were framed. The same way, the names should actually reflect who we are. If you are the Yoruba part, when they call you Taiwo or Kende, you knew you are a twin. When they call you Idowu, you knew you came after the twins. And that was what it was. Until slave trade happened, and the first thing that began to happen was that name change. So someone who is, Choma became, Shelly JX. Right? Or Onome became Nomsky Stone, And so you see the Black Americans, you see their names, some of them don't even know what it means because they had to take on the names of the people that bought them. And so, number 2, culture change. Their culture change, they are from Africa where ideally they should be drinking palm wine or they should be eating eba or aku early in the morning. Now they have to drink tea. They have to use AC. You look at how hot Lagos can be sometimes. We still have to wear tie to work. We still have to wear tie on Sunday because our culture had to change. As a matter of fact, even in Nigeria and other African countries colonized by Britain, our father sang every morning, Rule Britannia, Britannia rule the waves. Britain shall never, never, never be slaves. Our father sang, rule Britannia, right? That Britain shall never be slaves, but they can be slaves. Number 3, religious change. There was a way our fathers consulted God. That had to change. One of the devastating effects of that, for example, for the Yoruba, was that when the Bible was going to be translated, within the Yoruba cosmology, Eshu was not the devil. Eshu was God's servant who carried out vengeance on behalf of God. But when the Bible was going to be written, because Eshu had a form of worship among the Yorubas, so they had to demonize Eshu as devil so that people no longer worship Eshu. And that was how the worship of Eshu collapsed, and Eshu now became devil. But originally, Eshu is regarded as the messenger that avenged on behalf of God on his enemies, or the people were cheating other people. So religious change. Now, and so you can see that the highest products we take outside of Nigeria today are religious houses, not companies. They are religious houses. So now we say we are coming back to diaspora to win the souls of these people to God. What they gave us, we are now bringing it back to them. It's laughable. Number 4, polluted and forgotten history. Many of us on this call cannot tell me the history of your family. You can't tell me the 5th generation, the man in the 5th generation, the man in the 6th generation is lost. And so when your history is polluted and forgotten, why won't they say that they were the ones that discovered River Niger, right? And so River Niger had people who were living there. The people living there, what did they discover? Right? And so your history will be rewritten, all kinds of lies, because you had no documentation. In fact, many of our people actually had documentation, but they were destroyed during that period. You talk about the old Benin Kingdom. Have you studied the Oyo Messi, the military formation of the Oyo Empire, before it was destroyed by the selfishness of a certain guy called Bashorunga? You need to know your history, because many of you are from royal family, but you have been totally messed up that you are completely forgotten. Some of you are from a priesthood lineage. There is some priest in your lineage who stood before Africans and God in the traditional rite. That means there's a prophetic mantle on you. Whether you want to know it or not, right? Some of you are futurists because you are from the families of seer. Some of you are natural educators because that's the superpower in your family. Now, dehumanization and lack of choices was what happened. So low self-esteem, inability to collaborate, right? And many of these things became our mainstay. So there were 2 levels of slavery, those that went abroad and those that stayed at home. Both of them were enslaved. However, what this did was that it created 2 operating systems. There are a few families in Africa who operate with a freedom operating system minority. There are majority who are still enslaved. And how you know, and I want to be very honest, you will see these 2 operating systems operating either in your family or in your life. 1, the slavery people, how do they perceive people? How do they perceive themselves? They view themselves as inferior, humanized, and without agency or worth. And that's why when they stand before authority, they shrink, they bow, they worship the people they hate. But the freedom people, they recognize and embrace their inherent dignity, self-worth, and ability to make choices and pursue personal goals. When it comes to autonomy, the people in slavery, they believe they are the mercy of others and powerless to change their situation and that of their children. So you hear them say, we are the masses, so hey, we are suffering, God, come and save us. So they are the ones who pray, God, give us leaders after your heart. They've been praying that prayer for 50 years, 60 years, the leaders have not arrived. Other nations have taken responsibility for themselves. Singapore in 1982 was at the same level with Nigeria, Ghana, and the rest of them. Singapore has moved through Lee Kuan Yew and they become first world. Nigeria has regressed, Ghana has regressed. So they are always at the mercy. I can't change anything. You want them to kill you, keep quiet. Now, the freedom people are in control of their own life and they make decisions that promotes them. Now, when it comes to, how they see limitation, the enslaved people, they perceive limitation and boundaries as insurmountable obstacles imposed by external forces, and only an external force can take them out. So it's when we get to heaven, that's when we're going to survive. That's when we're going to enjoy, blah, 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 blah. But the freedom people, they see limitation as challenges to overcome, believing in the possibility of growth, personal development, and the ability to expand their horizon. Relationship to authority, the slave mentality, they are submissive, They have a submissive relation with authority, obeying command without question, afraid of death or something sinister if he holds leadership accountable. So even though they are being molested, they cannot ask leaders, what are you doing? Even though the leader rapes their daughter, they will say, oh, it must be only rape. Even though the leader slaps them, they must be called it only anger. They keep making excuses for those in authority because they don't believe they have what it takes to challenge. Now, the freedom people, they encourage critical thinking, they question authority, engage in constructive dialogue to promote accountability and fairness. When it comes to collaboration, the slavery mentality promotes competitive environment. So you can see our educational system, other nations have moved to collaborative education. We are still on competition education, first position, second position. So other people who have no position, we discard them, but those are the ones who are in your national assemblies. So we promote competitive environment where individuals are pitched against each other for limited resources or favor from those in power. So snitches or fellow slaves and report them to get ahead. So you see people, we even say it, if another person's own does not spoil, your own cannot be good. That is an adage, a proverb in Africa, that an elephant cannot blow with the same time with his children. What happens to father elephant blowing treble, mother elephant blowing tenor, first son elephant blowing alto, the daughter elephant blowing bass, and create a beautiful harmony? But no, one leader must be there till he passes, no other person must emerge, because we cannot stand the greatness of other people. Now, freedom mentality emphasizes collaboration, cooperation, and mutual support, recognizing that collective efforts lead to collective growth and success. Things community because allegiance is to the community. And that is why you have, the Indians, they collaborate wherever they are. Pakistanis, have you seen the UK election? Have you seen the number of Indians who became mayors? Have you seen the number of the Pakistani people, Palestinian people who are becoming mayors? Where are our people? We can't collaborate. If somebody comes out, another person must come out. Step down for one another is a lie. We cannot step down. Slavery mentality. Now, when it comes to, mindset, the slavery families, they perpetrate a sense of victimhood, focusing on past injustice and believe that circumstances are beyond their control. So they blame everybody. This was what they did to me. He was the guy that raped me. He was the guy that left me. If not that my ex left me. If not that this person did this to me. It's your father. Your father made us miserable. Ran away with another person. It's been 20 years. It's been 30 years. Trauma therapy can heal you. But no, we must keep blaming the past. But freedom mentality, they foster empowerment, encouraging individuals to take responsibility for their lives, overcome challenges, and create positive change. When it comes to handling others, slavery people, they view others through the lens of stereotypes, prejudice, or exploitation, right? They will exploit their brothers. So if they say there's fuel scarcity, they are the first to jack up the price, then they blame government. When they say that dollar has a problem, they will put dollar on everything, including water. They will say that the water has now become expensive. You don't know that dollar has risen. What has dollar got to do with water? They use every opportunity to exploit themselves. They take advantage of themselves. But the freedom people, they promote empathy, respect, equality, recognize the value of dignity of everyone, irrespective of their background and circumstances. Okay, now, so having said all of this, this is a question I want to ask you. Which of these two categories truly reflect your present operating system? The family you came out from and the family you're building. Which category do you think you are in at the moment? And I want you to be very honest. Do you think you are still in the spectrum of the slavery operating system, or you are in the freedom operating system? I need your answers on the chat box. Remember, it's our family meeting, and we need to be really clearly be real with ourselves so that we can get help. Right. So Lena James said slavery. What about you? Where are the other people? Where do you think you belong in all of this? Okay, Tony, yeah, freedom operating system, slavery operating system, wherever you're in, many of them, it's not your fault. It was what was put in front of you, and you need to change it, or else you are going to impose it on your children. Your children are going to operate with a scarcity mentality. They will not be able to collaborate because you are suspicious of people. In fact, you are going to believe that somebody is coming to take your life, one which is going to kill you, because they are pumped fear consistently into your mind. They are going to kill me, so be very careful. Don't tell anybody, blah, 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 blah. So somebody says somewhere in between for you. Now, the world, please pay attention. is powered by systems intelligence. And that is why families built around emotion have continued to struggle with, while those built on system have continued to thrive. As Africans, we are more emotional than systems driven. Why are many companies migrating their economy to dollar economy or pound economy? Because it's more stable. You know why? The president of America cannot wake up tomorrow and say we want to print new currency. It never happened. But a president in Nigeria or Ghana or Cameroon, the one in Cameroon has been in power since 1980. When I was in primary school, they asked us, who is the president of Cameroon? It was a question in literary and debating, whatever. We will say Paul Biya. Now, I have children. My children are going to university. It's still Paul Biya, right? We are more emotional. How is the man able to manipulate the constitution that made him president for life? Even when he doesn't understand where he is, he's still president. Apologies to my Cameroonians on the call, but this is the truth, right? And so we are more emotional. Unfortunately, the world we live in right now is not an emotional world, it's system powered. In fact, it's becoming an artificial intelligence world. What that means is that 1 + 1 must now be equal to 2. 2 + 2 must now be equal to 4. And that's why you are saying that the children are breaking free from their parents. How can a child go on podcast and say somebody was knocking me at the age of 17? Right? I married a man at the age of... How can a child from a family well brought up, how did they allow her get married at 17? Right? But that's what it has become. Shame is totally lost. And so everybody just opens their mouth and say whatever they want to say. So the world is powered by system. So you want to ask yourself, what have we struggled as Africans to build family system? Number one, fractured history and loss of identity is the number one reason. Now, let me ask you on this call. If I ask you to mention the name of the man in your family in the 5th generation, 5th generation means, so you are a generation, so your father is 1st generation before you. Your grandfather is 2nd generation. Your great-grandfather is 3rd generation. Your great-great-grandfather is the 4th generation. Your great-great-great-grandfather is the 5th generation. Who can tell me the name of the man in the 5th generation in your family? Put the name on the call. Let me see. If you don't know, just type I don't know. All right? If you know the man, put his name on the call. 5th generation is too far. You don't even know 3rd generation. I don't know. I don't know. Let me see. I don't know. So nobody knows the man in the 5th generation, but you are aware. Okay, good. Someone got it. Ike Bundu. Wow. Okay, good. Maybe a few people here. I don't know, no idea. But that man existed. And you are aware there was a man who existed, right? In the 5th generation. You don't know him. What makes you think that the 5th generation will know you? What makes you think they will know you? So it means the same way you don't know the man in the 5th generation, it means your entire memory will be lost by the 5th generation because nobody will know you. Except you make some of the changes I'm going to talk about today. Right. So fractured history and loss of identity, right? So if you don't know the man in the 5th generation, maybe the man in the 5th generation was even the man that invented, that invented plastic bottles. But because there was no history, someone else has claimed it. If you go on Amazon and you want to buy Ayolopon, that's a whatever. There's a name they call it on Amazon. If you want to buy broom, Ibale, there's a name they call it on Amazon. In fact, I wanted to buy a broom because, I felt I needed to sweep some things in my house. And I got it on Amazon. It was $35. $35. Broom, Ibale, $35. And they call it one funny name like that. Someone else may go and patent it tomorrow and claim it as an invention. Simply because our history is lost, of identity. Where are the innovations of our people? Right? And so these are the issues. Number two, low family system and outdated family strategy. As Africans, we don't have family system. So if I ask you, is there family vision in place? You don't have it. You don't have family value. The things that make up in building a system, 1 + 1 is not equal to 2. If I ask many of you right now, when you were growing up, how many of you were beaten, punished by your parents for what you still don't understand till today? What you did that made them slap you, or you did not do what they punished you for? Can you type I? Right? Let me see how many of you suffer for what you didn't know. You see, that is emotion, right? When you are being beaten for what you don't know, and what you are being beaten for, your parents are doing it, nobody is beating them. So it then shows that there is no system in place. It means they were oppressing you. Even though they were your parents, they were oppressing you. And guess what? Some of you are already doing the same thing to your children. You are cursing them. You are looking at your children and you are calling them names. Number 3, poor role modeling and success templates. We don't have too many African families who have family systems, who have built systems successfully, right? And so there are no success templates. So there is no book you can read, nobody you can go and learn from and say, okay, I want to observe this person. I have a friend in Nigeria. She's in one of the classes we're running, the 1-year program we're running. And that month, they were distributing the annual dividend for every descendant of our great-grandfather. And so the amount that accrued to her, they gave it to her, was a lot of money. So the man was one of the top lawyers in Nigeria many years ago. So I said, this man understood family system. That is what it means by a good man leaving inheritance for his children's children. He secured the future of his family in a way that this girl did not know this man. She was not alive when the man was alive. But when every year they share his trust, they share something and it gets to her. It's also going to get to our own children. Number 4, unresolved trauma. Many of us have unresolved trauma. How do you know? If you are here, you are always fond of shouting on your children when things don't go your way. That's a trauma symptom. If you are here, when others succeed around you, you feel bad. Deep down, even though you don't say it, that's a trauma symptom. If you are here, maybe you've gone through divorce, your spouse has left you, and every time their name came up, you still feel bitter. That's a trauma response. So if there is unresolved trauma in you, part of what you are going to be attracting into your life, traumatized people, one. Part of what you're going to be installing in your children are also trauma. Now, question is, which of these 4 are you struggling with at the moment? Can I see on the chat box, which one? Is it all that you are dealing with, or 1 or 2, or number 3? Which one do you think you are struggling with at the moment, right? Is it unresolved trauma? Is it poor modeling, low system, fractured history, and loss of identity? Which one? Somebody said all. Okay, Mary said all. Luwashon said all. Aladini says all. It says all. Now, so, guys, I want you to pay attention. I'm about to round up right now. The Africans of old was built on emotion. The new African families must be built on systems. If you forget everything I say, see, some of the things I said 9 years ago have come to pass in Nigeria and Africa today. And people are telling me, but Prince, you said this 9 years ago, we didn't believe you. It's because this is my job. I don't know mathematics. If you call me to teach mathematics, I don't know. Family life, I know it like the back of my life. That's what I've spent my life to study. So I know. The new African family must be built on system, and that's why if you don't build systems, you will not be able to groom and script your children for success. And your children will grow to a level that they will stop listening to you if you don't build systems. And your anger will not be able to solve the problem. So how do we build effective family system? I'll mention 3. 1, you need to do a family audit and trauma healing. We can't do trauma healing. I mean, after my honest bond, every African that booked a counseling session with me, you know, I do free clarity session, right? Every Tuesday and Wednesday. It's on my bio on Instagram. Everyone that booked a therapy with me, it was trauma they were dealing with, right? And I could predict what will happen. So when I did that free session, because it was free, I spent time. It was supposed to be 15 minutes, but some of them I spent like 1 hour with them. I ran some of them through a trauma session, ran them through some assessment that they should have paid for. Now, when it was time to start their main session of healing, they disappeared, right? And I could almost predict that behavior. And that's why I try to put in my best during their clarity session. And it's not because they don't really, some of them don't have money. It's because they don't see it as a priority. They can still manage until it becomes like stage 5 cancer or their children now have problems, they will now start running helter-skelter. So family audit and trauma healing. Number two, effective family governing system. If you cannot build anything at all, this one, if you understand this one, trust me, if you know how to create this one, you can go to bed. Because every other thing you need to build this is the foundation. What it means is effective family governance system must talk about you creating your family vision. If I come to your family and ask everyone what your vision is, everybody needs to know, right? Everybody, including your grandchildren, they need to know. Their own grandchildren, they need to be passed to them. Your family values. The DNA creed is your family values translated into a statement that can govern human behavior in your family. See, all my study of the Indians, of the Chinese, of the Jews revealed that this was where they started from. But someone took up that responsibility for Israel. It was David Ben-Gurion and Shimon Peres, right? For the UAE people, it was the Al-Maktoum family, right? Japan, they did the same. For Indian, it was Buddha and then later Mahatma Gandhi, right? DNA creed, the legends of your family. That's why if you meet Jews, I mean, many of you find a portion of the Bible that you don't like. You know that portion that says, and Adam beget this, and this person beget that, and that person beget that. That is a lineage history that traces Jesus back to Adam, right? They do that regularly. That you cannot do beyond four generations because it is lost. Now, if it is lost, you can't do anything about what is lost, but you can put the pieces together and now make yourself a new ancestor. Routines and ritual in your family. Constitution, family constitution, that's the document that can be passed from one generation to the other. The family agenda. Every family has got an agenda. If you check your entire history, there is something common. When you mention the Anikulakos, you know it's activism, right? Fumilayo, Beko, Molikoye, Fela, now, Femi, Sheung, right? Then you can see the next generation is already loaded, right? And so agenda. Then family culture must be intentionally scripted. Now, this number two is so critical that you need to know how to create this one, right? And so this is something that we're going to engage you and take you through an entire session on how to create. Now, in efficient systems building and modeling, we said that without a clear-cut system with clear expectation and consequences, the strong will trample on the weak because the new world is built on system and not emotion. So what that means, when you build that system, then you can now build others on it. Your family economy, your family education, your family health and wellness, your entertainment and recreation, your communication system, your security and immigration, and your culture integration and your legacy. These are systems that will need to be in place. See, your father did not do them because they didn't know it. Your grandfather didn't do them because they didn't know it. Now you are hearing it right now, and you better stand up and become the new ancestor of a new African generation. Right. And number three, flexibility and adaptability. Proactively anticipate change and plan your adaptation script because the world is changing. So what that means is reconciliation option. How do we ensure that we don't get to the stage of divorce? So from the start of marriage, we need to create what we call the open day system, right? New trends and reinvention. So as new trends are evolving, how do you collaborate as a village and reinvent it? How do you use the brand of car model to articulate the strengths and the weaknesses of everyone in your family? And so the question is, what is your family system's effectiveness index? So I'm going to run a simple assessment, right? And then I will be done and I'll take your question. Are we together? So within the next 20 minutes thereabout, we should be done. Okay, good. So follow me clearly. The instruction is very simple. I'm just going to quickly run through it and you will show me your result. Family effectiveness assessment. Please read the following statement on a scale of 1 to 4, where 1 is you strongly disagree, 2, you disagree, 3, you agree, 4, you strongly agree. So 1 to 4. 1 means you strongly disagree. 2, you disagree. 3, you agree. 4, you strongly agree. So what it means is when I read out the statement, if you agree with it, that is your reality, just put 4. If you strongly disagree, is 1. And don't lie about this, right? This will give you something and show you something about your family, and it will show you what you need to do, because the statements here are the statement of family governing system. And when you don't have that system, a lot will go wrong that you are not even aware of. So number 1, our family has a clear vision that is known to everyone. So if I come to your family right now and I say, what's your family vision? Everybody can say the same thing to me, word for word. If that is you, that's a 4. If that's not you, that's a 1. Number 2, please don't write it on the chat box. Just write in your sheet of paper. I only need your final answer. All right, I'll tell you how to get your final answer. Number 2, our family values are defined and known to all our family members. Your family values are defined and known to all the family members. Number 3, we have a family handbook that contains our operating system. We have a family handbook that contains our operating system. Number 4, we have a well-documented family culture that everyone understands. We have a well-documented family culture that everyone understands. 5, we have an intentional family constitution that outlines our rules, regulation, and consequences for offense. Number 6, we have a perceptual code for our children that guides our interaction with them. So, for example, if I ask you, what's your family perceptual code? You can tell me everybody in this family is a royalty, and that's why how we engage them. That's how we teach them. So do you have a perceptual code? Number 7, we follow defined family rituals and routine. Number 8, we have an intentional family educational system that governs how we grow and develop as a family, which means your family has developed their own educational system. Number 9, we have an intentional curriculum designed to achieve our family vision in the life of our children. And you can produce it if I ask for it. Number 11, number 10, we hold scheduled family meetings to discuss our progress and make adjustments. Number 11, we have a system for resolving conflicts without violence. Number 12, everyone in our family understands our family history, including our family tree, up to the great-grandfather level. 13, we correct behavior effectively without resorting to violence or anger. We correct behavior effectively without resorting to violence or anger. Number 14, we have a manual that helps us understand and engage each other. We have a family manual that helps us understand and engage with each other. 15, we have an intentional support system that we regularly engage with. We have an intentional support system that we regularly engage with. Number 16, we have mentors or coaches we consult when we can't agree on certain issues. We have mentors or coaches we consult when we can't agree on certain issues. Number 17, we are building a family economic system together to support our family. We are building a family economic system together to support our family. Number 18, we recognize and respect everyone's potential and create an environment for everyone to thrive. We recognize and respect everyone's potential and create an environment for everyone to thrive. Number 19, I feel that everyone in the family is respected and their voice counts. Number 20, we protect our family from external interference, including from extended family. Number 21, we respect our extended family, but ensure they do not interfere in our affairs without permission. 22, our love and romance life is effective and model positive external affection to our children. Number 23, our children feel free to discuss any challenges they face with us without fear of condemnation. Our children feel free to discuss any challenges they face with us without fear of condemnation. Number 24, our diet is intentionally designed to promote wellness. Our diet is intentionally designed to promote wellness. Number 25, we have an intentional plan for our descendants after we are gone. We have an intentional plan for our descendants after we are gone. Now, I want you to add up everything you score yourself. Add it up. Add everything up, 1 to 25, whatever you scored, add it up. And I'll tell you the range that you fall into, right? And what that means. So when you add everything up, 1 to 25, you have added everything up, 1 to 25. If you scored between 0 to 30, you are on red zone. Red zone is where you are at. If you scored 31 to 49, you are on yellow. Now, regardless of what you score, it doesn't matter. It just shows where you are and the level of work you need to do. If you score 50 to 69, you are on green. And if you are 70 and above, you are on white. So what range are you? Emanuela, you're on yellow. 37, you're on yellow zone, right? Red means that there is nothing in place. You have to start as fresh. There is no red there. Who is putting red? Buki is green. CC is, okay, sorry, red is there, right? That's 0 to 30, okay? A lot of you are on red, and it's not bad where you are at. It just shows where you are and what you need to do. Guys, okay, few people on green, yellow. Yellow means that I mean, red is like you are in a state of coma, right? Yellow means that you are tending towards average, right? But not man, it just means that a lot of things are just scattered that you need to put together. Green means that you do a bit of family system, but it's not defined and it's not in place at all. White means that you have a system in place, right? If you have a system in place, it means you can pass it on, right? If you are not there, then it means you need to do something as a matter of urgency. Now, having said all of this, if you don't know who we are, we and accept and promote who we are when we will defeat ourselves from within. Already your result shows that you need help. But let me tidy this session up by saying to you that a time comes that someone has got to stand up for an entire generation and determine the future of that generation, right? The question is, who will that person be in your family? Indians and Jews. For Indians, Mahatma Gandhi and Buddha stood up, right? And they redefined the future. It's not an error or mistake or happenstance that many of the CEOs of Fortune 100 companies are Indians. It's not by mistake that Indians are extending their branches everywhere they go. Jews, Shimon Peres and David Ben-Gurion. It was David Ben-Gurion who rose them up and told them, all experts are experts of what was. There's no expert of what the future will be. To become an expert of the future, vision must replace experience. UAE, the Amakatun guys stood up and they say, enough is enough. We have to redefine this nation. And they have redefined it. They become literally first world. Now, for your family and for Africa, who will that person be in your lineage? I want you to put the person that will rise and change things in your family on the chat box. Who will that person be? Let me see. Right? Let me see. It's going to be you. Tinuka says me. Lovett says me. Okay. Tony says me. It's me. It's me. It's me. Ademola, it's me. It's me. Guys, I love the fact that you're taking responsibility. Because let me tell you, before me in my family, my dad was an intellectual, very strong, cerebral, but there was no documentation. I have had to dig deep, and it was in my research that I stumbled on the fact that even though my family came out of Ondo State, geographically, ancestral home is Edo, is Benin, because the kings of Benin's children founded my hometown, right? And so I took on the responsibility and I started to build systems, started to build a family tree. I went to a place in Scotland. I went to a Bramble Castle. They took me there. 17 pound is what that castle has been standing for 1,400 years. The entire history, family lineage, everything was there. They told us the story. Over 350 people there that day. I was looking at how much they were making, and it was like, your family history can actually make money if you document it and articulate it very well, and you script the story properly. So here are a couple of questions I want you to answer in your notes. If you could create your dream family today, what would it look like? If you could create your dream family, there's a family called the Rothschild family. They were one of the richest families in Europe way back. They were giving loans to countries. If you could create your dream family, what would it look like? Number two, how would you feel if you could make that dream come true? How would you feel if your children were taking this assessment, maybe in another 2 years, and they're asking them to take this assessment, and your children are on white, they are scoring 90 because you have taken responsibility, and they are coming back and say, oh, mom, they asked to take the assessment. Imagine I'm the only one that scored 90. How would you feel if your lineage has actually extended and your children are becoming mayors in different countries of the world? How will that make you feel? Number three, what is it likely to cost your children and descendants if you don't make that change? What will it cost them if you don't make that change? What will it cost them? Is it going to cost them their identity crisis? Are they going to get into drugs? Are they going to, become baby mamas? Are they also going to be fighting debt and be disgracing your family? And they will think they are doing social media, whatever, engagement. What's it likely to cost your children and descendants? Maybe God will need to depend on someone else. What is stopping you from making that change right now? And I need you to put that answer, this final answer. What is stopping you from making that change? And what must you do today to change that reality? I want you to put it on the chat box. What do you think you need to do from today to change that reality? What do you need to do today to change that reality? Right? As you're thinking about that, guys, I want you to know that next week, Saturday and Sunday, we have a class. It's a master class. And all we're doing in that master class is, we call it Family Excellence Masterclass, in 2 days, January 13 and 14, 8 p.m. We're likely going to spend 3 hours each of those days, so 6 hours in all. But if we have to extend beyond that, we'll do it, right? In those 2 days, you're going to be learning how to create a family vision, how to create your family values, how to create your DNA creed, your family culture, your family legends, and how to rediscover your superpower. Now, it's a class you cannot afford to miss. If you go on my website, you will see that class is available for, you can buy it, right? It's $200 for people who have taken the class already. It's $200, and I won't show up at all. But what has been done is, for this masterclass is $100, right? It's $100. And so you can just click on the link and sign up for the class. I'll tell you, there is something you're going to be working with, and then there's a surprise for those coming to class. I'll tell you something I did. So when we did goal scoring early in the year, I advertised my mastermind group, and I told them there was going to be a surprise. Now, so people signed up for the mastermind group, and they were waiting for the surprise. Now, there's another program called Human Engineering Program, which is a $2,500 product. Now, when people sign up for my masterclass, for my mastermind, I gave them that for free. It was mind-blowing for many of them. So I have another surprise for those taking this class on Saturday and Sunday. It's $100, right? And trust me, what you're going to get is way, way, way more than $100. If you are in Nigeria, there's a link you can use to sign up, and then there's a phone number, because someone is going to say to me, oh, Praise, can I pay twice? Please chat up that phone number and talk to them if you want to pay twice. But it's going to be, we're going to break it down, right? It's strictly for ancestors, people who want to take responsibilities, people who want to say, you know what, I am going to take charge, and I'm going to create a new future for my family, right? I am the person who has been appointed. I am the one who is going to do it, right? And so you go ahead and sign up for that class. It's $100. If you live in the diaspora, you can use the link and sign up today. It's by Friday, thereabout, we'll close our shop, and by Saturday, we get into class. It's 2 p.m. CST, and then it's going to be 8 p.m. West African time. Sunday, we'll repeat the same thing. So in those 2 days, and what we're going to do is, I'm going to personally monitor the creation of your family vision. If it's not appropriate, I'm going to help you recreate it. I'll give you other options, then you can choose. And I'll tell you what to do in your family and how to make the desired changes starting from this week. And so, so that's the class. I expect you to join this class. So how many of you are coming to class with me on Saturday and Sunday? Can you type I? Let me see you. If you're joining us in this class, can you type hi? I'm coming. Okay. Let me see you. Let me see you. Show yourself on the chat box. Thank you, Cici. Cici, you're welcome to class. Fumilola, you're welcome. Lena, you're welcome to class. Right. So who else is coming? Okay, Buki is coming. Buki, I trust you. You always come to class. Right. Unjideka is coming to class. Right. Who else? Who else? Who else? Where are the other people on this call? Are you coming to class already? You should be in class already. So you go and sign up. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, team. Fabunka. Yeah. Mary Jane, can't wait to see me. I'm waiting to see you. Unzika, don't say but. You need to come now, right? You need to come now. So if you're having any challenge at all, you can chat up the phone numbers, the lines in there. all the people I want to come to, don't say you want to come to, you need to come to class, right? And so we are going to really, really break a lot down. You're going to be learning a lot. So just click on the link and make your registrations right away. If you are in Nigeria and you want to do a transfer, you can do a transfer, or you can chat up the number. Maybe you're in Nigeria and you want to pay twice for that class. Please chat up the number. But I can't wait to have all of you in class. I want you to know that the most important nation on earth is your family, because your family is the production factor of the society. And on that note, I say thank you. If there is a question you have, I'm going to take your question, but keep signing up, keep showing up, show your commitment. Let me tell you what you're going to get in that class. Sorry, let me say, someone is saying, I can see a question there from all I have said. Is it why we no longer have community parents? Okay, absolutely, absolutely, because everyone has moved from the mentality of collaboration to a silos mentality. But now we are rebuilding that. Already in Dallas, we have a community. In UK, we have a community. In fact, they are doing projects already. So we are doing collaborative community in the UK. We have a community there. In Nigeria, we have Northern Nigeria, we have Southern Nigeria, we have communities there as well, right? So we are rebuilding the community and we're rekindling the family systems once again. Okay, so go ahead, sign up, and then we will look forward to welcoming you in the class. So go ahead and sign up right now. Your destiny deserves it. That's the question I always ask myself. I paid for some crazy classes running into $10,000s. You know, initially I have the hesitation. Hey, Praise, can you afford it? You know, but I ask myself, does your destiny deserve it? And I answer, my destiny deserve it. So I ask them, okay, can I make a commitment? Right? And they usually will say to me, oh, make a commitment. So I make a commitment. And usually when it's time for class, I have enough money to sign up and do what I need to do. Okay, so thank you very much. Onome, are there questions? I will respond to the question. I hope you have learned something. What did you learn? Can you put what you have learned on the chat box? And if you have a question, let's ask the question, and I'll take the question before we shut down for today. Thanks so much for listening to me all day. Okay, Onome, over to you.
Thank you so much, PF. And I just want to say, I'll ask everyone, hope you have been empowered, inspired, most especially challenged to create a new future for yourself and also for your family. And the only question right now that I see on the chat says, how can I get my husband to be on the same page with me on this?
Okay, so that's the question we hear all the time. You know, a lot of women are married to husbands who they don't know, and then they don't want to know. And that's very sad. However, there is a way you can go about that. Don't go and lord anything over him and insist that this is what you're learning. No. Once you have learned what you have learned, what you do with that guy is to go to him, right, and say to him, sweetheart, if all your dreams for this family comes to pass, what would it look like? Just hear him out. Whatever he's saying, pretend as if you are writing it down. Write everything down. Go back. Whatever we taught you in class, let's say you have attended the classes next week, right? Put it down and return it back to him. And say, the vision you're talking about, is this what it looks like? And our value, is this what it looks like? Because this is what I can make from what you have said. He will agree with you. Say, oh, yeah. Because a man is most vulnerable when he thinks he's in control. So you can literally influence him, right? To begin to do what is right. Now say, okay, as the father of the family, I want you to present this vision to our children, right? And then we will appoint the policeman who will ensure enforcement and blah, 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 blah. That's one of the ways to influence a man to do your bidding. Yeah. Any other question?
Someone just says, will the Saturday classes include how to raise families in Canada?
Yep. Because you see, your family system is the most important part. Once you create your governance system, you have literally, because you are in Canada, you are in America, right? America runs on system, Canada runs on system. You can run on emotion. And that's why a lot of families get into trouble, because once you design your family governance system, then you can literally go to bed, because your families will align with any society they go into without compromising what stands them out and their uniqueness. So absolutely, the question is yes.
Thank you, PF. Someone is asking if there's a recording. I want you to know, like we said on earlier, that this class is actually being live streamed on YouTube. So you can get into the YouTube right now. If you just want to please look at it, and then you get you can have a replay of it. We do not have any more questions here, or if you have written a question, but I can't see any here at all. But if you have a question and I cannot see it, if you don't want, please share again. But for now, I think the questions are done.
Okay, thank you very much. We hope to see you. We hope to see you. In fact, not we hope. We are going to see you on Saturday and on Sunday. So click on the link, join the class, and we will welcome you and we'll teach you everything you need to know. I want you to know that Africa is in our hands and we're the ones that are going to transform Africa. And I have taken it upon myself, going from one African country to the other, setting up systems and structures and building new things. It's a silent revolution, right? We don't make a lot of noise about it, but we will do what we need to do for the sake of our children and for generation unborn. But never will it happen that your generation will talk about you in the 5th generation and they will remember you because you are the ancestor of a new generation. I'll see you on Saturday and Sunday by God's grace. Have a fantastic week. God bless you. Bye-bye.